it comes to not just the world of anime, but the world of any type of storytelling medium, whether that be movies, TV shows, books, etc., characters are going to be some of the most important elements of that story. No shit, a brick wall could tell you that. But it's more complicated than just having a good character. Obviously, there's execution, there's the character around the story, how they react, their reactions, their personality, and I would go as far as to say that in the world of anime, we get a lot of anime that don't really do that properly. Yes, there are a lot of characters that are good, that are iconic, and some of the best characters ever written when it comes to storytelling. But at the same time, with the amount of anime that comes out every season, there is always a lot of slop, and in that slop, there is not that many good characters. At best, a character can be simplified to just a one-note take and can be a nothing burger. At the same time, they can be some of the atrociously badly written characters that it makes you question how this anime was even greenlit in the first place. And that situation can even be more of a problem when you talk about the anime that have the huge cast, because at that point, not everybody can get a spotlight and not everybody can be talked about. So inevitably, there are going to be a lot of good characters with a lot of good concepts that do get thrown to the wayside and never used. And let me be clear, not every character has to be used. I'm not saying that if you have a character, they have to be important or they have to mean something to the story. Obviously, if you want to have a throwaway character, that's perfectly fine too if that's the intention. But if you make a character feel important and you give that character importance and you fail to make them important, then that's bad. But like I said before, there are many anime that do succeed in making not just their main characters, but their supporting characters and their side characters very important. There are anime that can take those big rosters of characters and make each and every one at least feel important in some way, shape, or form. And there are anime that can make even the most inconsequential character in a show feel like they have just a tiny bit of importance to the actual story. And today, I want to go ahead and talk about that particular anime. One anime that I have overlooked for years when it came to its character writing, and after its most recent season, I only just recognized how good of a show it was, not just in the overall grand scheme of its plot and all that stuff, but in its character writing and character development. And that anime is Re:Zero Starting in a New Life. But before we get into the video today, I'd like to talk about one of the partners that we have for this channel, and that partner is Dubby. Dubby is an energy drink that prides itself in trying to be a different brand, as it has zero sugar, zero maltodextrin fillers, zero artificial flavors or dyes, no secret formula, and no hidden types of ingredient. So everything that you get with Dubby is going to be a healthy option. And to help with that healthier option, they add vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic that helps with the little noggin, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. All of that packaged together super well in a powdered energy drink that they tried their best to make taste as unique as possible. So anything that you taste from Dubby, you're definitely not going to be tasting anywhere else. And I gotta say, my current favorites right now are the Japanese soda flavor and the California mango cream, because my god, those two are damn near delicious. And the tubs that they offer on their shop come down to $1 per drink, which means you're gonna get a better deal than you would ever get at Starbucks or ever going to the store and getting a canned energy drink. So with the healthy additives, the better cost, and the better taste, Dubby is a perfect option for any gamer, content creator, or whatever you do out there. No matter what you do, and no matter what activity you partake in, Dubby will always be a good option to go for. And trust me, I don't want to be somebody that pushes on an ad to you guys that I wouldn't use myself. And I have been partnered with Dubby for a while now, and it's a shame that I have not pushed them as hard as I have, because I have used them as a quick alternative when I'm in a rush or if I need just a little bit different to not give me the jitters whenever I drink my coffee. And Dubby has been a perfect additive and a perfect substitute. Not to mention, their community is one of the best that I've ever been a part of. They collaborate with small creators, they have a bunch of collabs with other creators to make tumblers and special drinks. Honestly, Dubby not only is a good product, but is overall a good company. So go ahead and get yourself a tub of Dubby today, and you know what? If you click the link in the description or in the comment section, go to that little referral link on your checkout, use code Kurosaki to get 10% off your order from your boy right here. Thank you, Dubby, for being a wonderful partner of this channel. Now let's get back properly into the video. Oh my god, I just realized this is the first time I've said its full title. Ugh! When you want to talk about things like character development, character writing, character traits, character personalities, character dynamics, character this, character that, ReZero has a great, if not excellent, example of everything of those things when it comes to all of its characters. And Season 3 is a perfect example of that quality because they did that all while bringing a bunch of characters back for the whole entirety of Season 3 and being able to explore a lot of them in various different ways and in various different aspects. The most recent season undoubtedly has probably the biggest focus of characters ReZero has ever seen in a while, and that's because all of the old characters that we've gotten across Season 1 and Season 2 are now all meeting in one confined place for what is a very big event. And the way that they bounce around each one of these characters is wonderful, not only taking all of the princesses' different courts and exploring the dynamics within them, but also seeing how each court reacts with one another, how they react with the town and the situation, how they work together as a team, how they might be plotting, how might they be working. There's so much that go on. It's so rich in character dynamics and we see so many different ones. It's enjoyable to see. And that's impressive too, because you would think that a bunch of characters that we haven't seen well over in a season now would have a hard time adjusting back given the fact that they've been through so much already. And these just aren't a few people either. This is 4 full courts of people that we haven't seen in season, and some of these characters in particular were enemies with the last time we saw them. But no, they do a really good job in handling it as well. Sometimes you don't need an elaborate 3-episode backstory to tell where somebody's been. One Piece. Sometimes just a simple, straightforward answer can make all of that even better. Just any form of explanation, if told well enough or if told good enough, can be fine, and ReZero does that really well here. Hell, it's more than fine. It's honestly really great, because the way that they do it, they give us enough to know where everyone's been and what they've been up to, but also hiding out some facts that are obviously gonna play some type of importance later down the road. And I love the way they do it. I have enough to at least understand and feel satisfied knowing that they're just not magically there, but there's still more for me to be interested in these characters later down the road when we get to that point in their story. But it's not just the princesses that get that much attention. All of the side characters that are around them get just as much attention. Any character that would have been a one-off character in any other anime have at least something going on for them. Whether it's a big elaborate story or something that's just a small little through line to help progress the plot, all of the characters have something to be involved in the story and be engaging. They have something that is compelling about them that is interesting for the followers to follow. I think 2 of the best examples that I can pull up of the side characters getting a lot of attention is Garf and Liliana. Garf is a side character that has definitely gotten some of the most development throughout the entire series, where in the second season he was seen as kind of a nuisance against Natsuki and all of his plans, and at the end of Season 3 he's become probably one of the most valuable side characters in his team. On top of all that, a good chunk of the beginning of Season 3 follows Garf finding his mother with extra kids now that she has, and him having to deal with the fact that the mother that he knew is no longer gone. He kind of has to move on from that fact, and he does so in a very mature way. Garf that we knew back in Season 2 dealing with all of that stuff would have never dealt with anything that he dealt with in that main city of Season 3 in the same way. This is a completely different Garf that we've seen. And that's not even touching upon the whole weird possession, not possession, possibly traumatic thing that he's dealing with the villain that he ended up killing back in Season 2. I could go out of my way to find her name, but honestly, she can burn in hell for all I care. Then on the other side of the spectrum, we have Liliana, who was introduced very early on in Season 3, but doesn't get much screen time, but is arguably one of the best characters in the entire season. At first, when she was introduced, I genuinely thought that Liliana was somebody who was just there for the laughs and giggles, and for the occasional good song that everyone could get motivated on. I didn't think she was going to have much of a presence throughout the entire series, and I thought she was just going to be there as like a side character. But that wasn't the case. Liliana ended up having such an impactful story and such impact on the entire story in itself that she ended up being one of the best characters there. They implemented her really nicely, because without Liliana, they probably wouldn't have gone as far, because her music was able to know some of the monsters and fix some of the people who were getting affected by the villain's powers. But then when you add in her backstory of breaking away from her gypsy family because she just didn't want to perform just for the sake of performing, she actually wanted to go out and have a purpose to her music, for her music to actually mean something, and then it ends with her writing her music out on a falling castle. I can't think of a better moment for a character than that. It was genuinely not just the highlight of season 3, but probably one of the highlights of ReZero so far. And I can go on and on about all of the side characters. I can go about Wilhelm and his whole interaction with his grandson, his son, and his wife. I can talk about Otto and the way he does his merchandising and the way it affects everybody else. He's not your average merchant. He is a merchant that is beyond that. There's Beatrice and her complex history. There's Rem and her finally opening up. I can go on and on about all the characters on the show, because ReZero does a good job making you care about all these characters. The only weird blemish that I can see from the show is at the very end, where it seems like they introduce a character that Subaru apparently knows, but I don't ever remember seeing him at any part of the series. They treat him like a pretty important character, so it is kind of weird that I don't remember him. But genuinely, if anybody remembers in the comments who this character is, I would appreciate it. I genuinely have no recollection of him, and I can't seem to find him anywhere in the series. It's like the weirdest addition ever, but maybe I am watching on Crunchyroll, so maybe I'm watching something weird. But our main and side characters aren't the only thing that ReZero's good at making. ReZero's also really good at making villains. For a lot of anime, making one villain for an entire series can already be kind of a hassle, but ReZero makes 4 to 5 villains in genuinely the best way. Now, the ReZero characters are pretty straightforward, and I don't think they have to be any more complex than they really have to be, because they are some of the most revolting and worthless beings that you can ever see in the show. But that's a good thing. And in this instance, I actually want to give a lot of credit to specifically the dialogue of the archbishops. There are various aspects of the entire anime that really help sell the actual villains. The animation, the voice acting, all of it is made beautifully. But the dialogue and the words they say are actually quite haunting to hear. The way that they speak and the way that they speak to individuals in the show makes you feel revolted, it makes you feel disgusted, and it makes you love to hate these characters. And it's also not the first time that we got that type of dialogue when they want to make a very vicious character, as we harken back to season 1 all the way back when we were first introduced to Elsa. I know I said I wasn't going to say her name, but I completely forgot I actually put her name in her script. Still, fuck that bitch. And honestly, I appreciate it, and it's really refreshing, because I feel like we don't get villains like this that much anymore when it comes to anime. I feel like a lot of them are either very cookie cutter or very sympathetic, which is fine. I don't hate the sympathetic part. I actually really enjoy that archetype as well. A villain that you can at least understand the motives, but maybe not the actions, I still very much enjoy. But either it's very toned down, it's never to the degree in which ReZero does it, which I think is pretty intense, or they try to, but it's either something that's done in completely bad taste or something that's extremely corny. Now, obviously, ReZero has a plethora of really good written characters, but obviously 2 of the best are obviously going to be our MCs, Subaru and Emilia. I think watching both of their journeys has been both painful, heartwarming, and satisfying all at the same time. Where back at season 1, these were 2 characters that had the drive to do good and wanted to do good, but lacked a lot of the ability and lacked a lot of the confidence to do so. Whereas in season 2, they were challenged very heavily on their beliefs and challenged very heavily on whether this is the path that they want and if they can actually do things, and they proved that they can. And season 3 is just a payoff for that, and it's a fantastic payoff. Subaru and Emilia were once characters that were a burden and caused problems for so many people around them, but now they've become characters who not only can stand on their own and stand for themselves, but they have so many people that are willing to stand by them and are willing to be protected by them. And if Emilia giving the absolute beat down to Pride doesn't convince you, I don't know what will. I think one of the biggest things that I love about their written journey, both as individuals and as a pairing, is the fact that everything feels like it matters. From season 1 to season 3, you look at any action they took from small to big, and it made them the people that they are. It feels important to their own character. Nothing feels like a throwaway, nothing feels like it's like a filler moment. Everything feels so important. And again, that's another thing that's extremely hard to do. There's not a single moment that I can think of that, if removed from the story or even changed slightly, would change the directory of both what Subaru and Emilia would be at the end of season 3. I never want to read a story and feel like that I could have made this decision better or this decision would have been so much better. I want to read a story and feel that whatever option was chosen is the best option and I can't think of anything better. It sounds kind of narcissistic a little bit to say, but I do think that that's important. I never want to question the option of what the writer decided to choose. Obviously, there's examples of that where you can question something and it pays off down the road, but I never want to get to the point where I question it and it never gets paid off. I want to be satisfied with what the author wrote and be able to theory craft over the possibilities of what can happen, and I get that a lot doing ReZero, especially with both Subaru and Emilia. But also as well, they're just really well craftable and likable characters. I think when you just look at everything that they've been through, the pain, the suffering, the agony, and seeing these characters still push on through some of the most traumatic things a human can ever go through, it's just kind of awe-inspiring, and it's really lovable to look at, honestly. And it's also kind of hard to hate them. Unless you're a Rem fan, in which case I think you're pretty justified on that part. It does really suck that it only took me until season 3 to realize how amazing the character writing in ReZero is. Honestly, all of ReZero is amazing. The animation is great, the music choices are fantastic, the world itself is beautiful, the systems that they use for their power is fantastic. When it comes to things it really stands out on, the things that I think it's an industry leader in, and the thing that I think many other anime can take a good example from, it is definitely its character writing, especially with the amount of characters that they have on their roster. I really don't hear more people talk about it, and I think ReZero in that regard deserves a lot more credit than it's gotten. Now watch them all get killed off when I get a big ol' fuck you to my goddamn face.
I'm like so gay.